Richard with Kansas Freedom News. Welcome to part 2 of the Jackson County, Kansas Planning and Zoning meeting, September 5th, 2024. I apologize for some shaky camera angles. Got a new tripod, trying to do some adjustments and tweaks and get it angled over towards the screen that they were showing color codes on what they were changing, why they were changing certain definitions and resolution definitions and things like that. So again, I apologize for the shaky camera, and I hope you enjoy.
3 weeks ago. Okay.
That's all right. Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is public hearing on amendments to Articles 5, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 19, 15, 16,
We're talking about all.
Or
Or are you just talking about like the first page?
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
That's the whole problem.
That's a big problem.
So we don't know what you're talking about,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you. Yes, there's proposed changes to, as I mentioned earlier, several articles. A number of the initial changes are providing and updating definitions to different terms. Some proposed few terms. There are some proposed changes to the A1 General Agricultural District. Some of the A2 Commercial Agricultural District. Kate has them shown on the screen. Some of the G1 Recreation, RC, Rural Center, Rural Residential, R1 Single Family, B1 Neighborhood, Commercial, R2 Three Family, R3 Local Family, MP Manufacturing Housing Park District, B2 Simple Business, B3 General Business, B4 Service, I2 Heavy Industrial, some regulation, some supplementary district regulations. Are you asking that the changes be read?
No, sir, I was just asking which one you want to speak about first.
Okay. That's up to you. You have the floor. If you have a question about one of them, we can bring it up on the screen so everyone can see it. And I'll try to speak louder.
Thank you. All of you.
Yes, all of you.
Would you explain to them that the yellow highlighted is all new language? And with the blue highlighted is miscellaneous? This big yellow.
Yeah, all six of us need to speak up for our audience.
Okay, so as far as Article 5, the definitions in Article 5, you will see the highlighted portions. Those are additions. That's to clarify the definitions. You see the strike through in yellow. We're removing that portion. Then you've got the blue. That's in version 3. That was since the work session. That was additional verbiage that just clarifies that definition for like conditional use. Just clarifies conditional use, special use. It's essentially just clarification. This is an entirely new definition because this dwelling accessory is an addition to the regulations. We haven't had accessory dwellings in.
What's the blue stripe?
Blue strike through is what you guys went through, because that was, we were trying to determine how big these accessory dwelling units are, so you guys decided to go bigger than the 30% of a primary dwelling. So that's why you're going to see that highlight, because I was bringing that to their attention. Do you want to do 30% or do you want to do bigger or what? What do you guys want to do? The strike through was they decided not to use that verbiage and instead changed it to the limited to 800 square feet or 75% of owner-occupied principal dwelling. We did not have definitions in the regulations for conditional use or for special use. That has been an issue for years. We're just trying to get the definitions in there now. There again, this blue highlighted area is saying that, just clarifying that conditional uses and special uses are just for that owner that applies for them, and they do not transfer to the next owner. Then we've got temporary use or structure. verbiage for accessory dwelling units. It's also to clarify what temporary use structures are, because that's been some concern in the past. I'm getting clarification on that. Then we move to Article 7, the A1 General Ag District. So in all of these articles, you're going to see Section 3 use regulations for temporary structures. And each article is going to have a different number in Section 3 for temporary structures. Each one's going to have a different number for the 17, clarifying that the Planning Commission hears special use and not the Board of Zoning Appeals. So that's just changing that verbiage. Also, there again stating that it's non-transferable for a special use. So each of these sections and each of these articles, and you're going to see those repeated. Each article that has anything about Board of Zoning Appeals, hearing special use permits. Each one of those articles is going to have that slash through and the new verbiage to include Planning Commission. Okay? So that's why you're going to see a lot of these repeated. There was also on the table the Section 4 intensity of use, that 20 acres to the 3 acres that was recommended at the work session. The Planning Commission had discussed leaving that as it is, which is just the 20 acres. Then Article 8, there again, we're looking at Section 3 with the use regulations, with the Board of Zoning Appeals not hearing special use permits and that being the Planning Commission hearing them. That jives with the comprehensive plan and duties between boards. Article 11, Section 3, there again, we've got another one of those that we had to clean up that language, right? So there it is again. Article 12, Section 3, number 12, temporary structures, because we have to get that temporary structure verbiage in there. 17, same thing with the appeals board and the planning commission cleanup. Article 13, same thing. The temporary structures and the planning commission and appeals board duties. Article 14, Section 3, there again, temporary structures. A lot of this is just repeat stuff. 15, the same thing, it's just clean up on the duties between planning commission and appeals. B1, there's another one with planning commission and appeals board. It just looks a little different, but it's the same verbiage. It's about special use. Yeah, special use permits. There's another one in Article 15, Section 3, 4. Same in the R3. So, sorry, it's redundant, but Section 3, number 9, manufactured housing district. Section 3, number 14, B2 district. B3 district, Section 3, number 34. B4, Section 3, number 23, is clean up again. I2, there's some more cleanup. And sign regulations. That popped in because we were adding county public right away. Because it didn't have county in there. So we wanted to clarify county. And we decided, because that popped up because of the appeals board, they agreed that that is a Board of Zoning Appeals duty on that. All right, then we get into the supplementary district. This is to incorporate the accessory dwelling units and just cleaning up and adding in some stuff, so there was just clarifying, so there was some strikeouts here, gonna take out that verbiage and add something to make it clearer. And then we get into the accessory dwelling units. This is all new. So this was discussed again here in the blue, and they decided to go bigger than that. This,
Okay, we want to go to this, the entire book section, some of the things, non-public in this, some of this section will be that we define going over each line.
The accessory dwelling
In
unit.
case people in the back can't, see that right in the line, just read each of those points on your page. So everyone can.
accessory dwelling unit, also known as an EDU. The detached accessory dwelling shall not exceed 800 square feet or 75% of the owner-occupied principal dwelling square footage, whichever is less. Number 2 is located on the same lot, rear yard, as the principal dwelling unit, and 3 shall be on a permanent foundation, and 4 shall not be divided off into another new lot of record, and 5, the principal dwelling unit or the accessory dwelling shall be owner occupied, and 6, the accessory dwelling shall meet the district's yard requirements, the setbacks, and 7, the combined square footage of the principal dwelling and all accessory buildings shall not exceed the maximum lot coverage per district. And 8, the accessory dwelling shall not exceed the maximum zoning district height. And 9, separate meters and utilities are prohibited, subject to approval by Northeast Kansas Environmental Services. 10, a building permit is required to convert an existing structure. So if there is an existing structure and you're wanting to put in an accessory dwelling unit in that structure, building permit is required to make sure that you're meeting these standards.
Okay. That's all. Are there any other questions on the assistance?
President Hoffman, thank you. The paper doesn't have the color, and I think most of us didn't know what was going on. So you clarified it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's very helpful. Very helpful.
So, Evan, sorry.
I'm going to ask you for a name each time.
Yeah.
It's just easier.
So, in this, are you guys still trying to decrease the ag land to 3 acres? Or I thought you said something there about you guys were wanting to go back to 20 acres. Is this still on track to try to turn ag land to 3 acres?
Thank you for that question, first of all. What the board talked about with the work session, which is not a voting session, was on that exact point. Try to just leave things the way they are right now.
Yes.
And not go with the smaller acreage under those circumstances.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I think 3 acres would be way too low. I think if we're gonna lower ag requirements, it should be, to help younger people who are wanting to get into ag. In that case, 10 acres would be more reasonable versus 3 acres.
Three is not much for for a farm. These
Well,
guys-
I meant, but
It's a big living,
if someone trying to get into it wants to buy 10 acres, put a house on it, and, you can run a couple cows and keep your foot in the door there, versus what 3 acres you really have.
I know people want 10 acres in Missouri that only want to be
Largest chicken nuggets, and we started on 10 acres.
Yeah, 10 acres is plenty big enough to be able to keep it from loose. But 3 acres in the ag, that's not ag use anymore, that's suburban.
Hobby.
Yeah, that's more of a yard.
Suburbs.
Yeah,
Yes.
Just to clarify, that was a work session, so that's what the board talked about. The board will vote tonight. On either this as a whole or this minus that, in other words, leaving that section as it is without making any change to that.
Okay.
So leaving the current rules and moving this, but that's what they'll vote on here is their just a vote. Okay, just to clarify that, what we're not.
Thank you.
You will. I think there was at least one other thing. We'll hold on just a second. I'm going to go to him just because I'll do speaker first and on that, okay?
I just like bringing some, would the board be willing to add some clarification to the statement in red stating something to the effect that the planning commission intends to leave the intensity of use regulations in place from the previous revision?
There will be a portion of the motion that should address that. Here a little bit.
Okay, so will we have a chance to speak after that portion?
Not now.
But you guys are going to discuss this after we're done speaking?
Let me go ahead and partly answer your question. I will not be making the motion. But the motion that I've written out includes a line to hopefully answer your question. To approve except for no change. You go to the no change except for no change to section 4, which is right where I take that to the intensity of use regulation. I'm sorry, we restate that. No change to Article 7, Section 4, intensity of use regulations. Again, that's part of the motion that I suggest to someone who basically wants that.
So your motion would essentially be to leave the intensity of use regulations in place as they currently stand?
Exactly.
And then I would also like to provide some clarification, if I could, maybe, about the temporary use structure. Is that what you were going to speak on? Or?
I actually have a question on this.
Real quick, just the temporary use structure, it's, to me, just reading it as a layman, it seems kind of, it makes me feel like if I have a camper on my property, right, that I'm using as a temporary structure in accordance with the new proposed regulations, and at the end of that construction, I have a full set camper for my property, and I think that there's a very easy way to get rid of that perception. My suggestion would be that a temporary use structure is permitted to be used for 18 months on unimproved or unapproved real estate, which is of impermanent nature, incidental to construction work, for no greater than 18 months. And just leave it there. Because you've given that individual that 18 months to do what they need to do with that incidental structure. But then if it's a camper, they don't have to remove it from the property. If it's a shipping container, they don't have to remove it from the property because there's no requirement for that. So I would just set the tone for the 18 months, right? Because at the end of 18 months, I'm not going to remove my camper from my property. That's kind of how I agree with. But if you just put in there that, hey, here's the intent, you can use this temporary use structure in the course of construction for the 18 months, and leave it there. And then maybe if you guys need to add some verbiage to say that an extension needs to be granted, you can come before the board and request an extension. But just state that it can be used for 18 months, leave all the rest of the verbiage, and remove the part where it says must be removed from property. Because again, I wouldn't want to remove a shipping container, I wouldn't want to remove a recreational vehicle. You know, somebody could be storing a tiny home, but you've only allowed that tiny home to be a temporary use. You see what I'm saying? Like,
So that's why I added the way to use as a temporary dwelling.
okay.
I thought that.
I think it does. It says you're living in it on a daily basis.
When these structures are being used as a temporary dwelling.
Okay.
I guess I was kind of confused with that one, so, just because of how it ends with must be, that they must be removed after the 18 months. Because, your camper is gonna sit in your driveway most of the time.
And that's understood, right? People own campers and they don't have to run their campers. It's just that it's discovered that it's being lived in at the time. There's no building permit.
So you guys are primarily concerned about a residence going up and people not, and let's say they're pumping sewage into a ditch or something, like trying to keep out of that realm. So I just thought that the wording of having it removed was kind of strong, and I don't know if it's necessary.
There are so many scenarios when it comes to these temporary structures. Some of these temporary structures would be put on permanent foundations and moved to that accessory dwelling unit. Fits certain criteria, right? This is to cover these specifically, and there tends to be more as time goes on, different types of structures that pop up. I think it's just to make sure that housing units and structures are put on permanent foundations for one, and that sewage is taken care of properly. There are always situations where we can work with somebody if it's gonna stay there, like a tiny home. Somebody brings in a tiny home and actually wants to use that permanently as an accessory dwelling unit. That could be arranged.
Can we replace the 3 words must be removed from the premises of that portion and say such structures shall not be used as a temporary dwelling?
Because if your mom and dad can do this, you can stay in your trailer. That's
Yeah, well, you're saying can't do that.
right. I'm saying that no one's gonna stop me. If I have an RV and I park it by my house on some gravel, and let's say, you're my uncle, if you're not staying, you can visit, it makes sense that you might stay with the RV, because you need space for having us. And if money has a
That's a little different if you're on there for a day or two.
we're talking about,
long-term, you're gonna build a house.
sure,
You need
we just want
some,
that language that puts us in a corner.
trying to make it flexible.
Right.
I mean, I kind of agree with your concern. Must be removed from the premises. If I got a little shed or cabin, I'm not going to use that for storage.
It might be,
Shipping
loads
for
or
storage,
something.
my garden tractor,
Right.
whatever. And I'm just saying, such structures shall not be used as a temporary dwelling at the end of the permit period. The word shall gives no sense. Right.
So how does that apply to if one of my relatives wants to stay in my camper, because I don't have room in my house, because I built a small house, is that still acceptable? If they're just coming, let's say out for the holidays, that'd be a temporary dwelling at that point. And that's why I just kind of went back to the, why not just remove the removal part of it, and then that allows, that rule is set, and if you guys find that somebody's not following the rules, then.
Yeah, if they're there for a couple of days, I don't think anybody's going to have time to turn you in.
Well, I disagree.
My parents are the on, and when they're gone for 3 months. They could be on my property for 3 months.
Then what's wrong with that? I mean, if someone's up in sewage, we have state statutes to address that, right? It's each other, where we went.
Well, they're not enforced, and
board members have tonight. I think that, business tonight.
Well, and we settled this law that it should be 10 acres, and you decided you're going to strike out the 30 and leave it at 20. Will you come back and talk about the 10 acres that's
I understand what you're saying. What we talked about was just leaving that section as it is currently.
may I see, and so I would like to see it 10 because as a young couple starting out, a lot of people want to money for 20 acres of their family houses, and they like to use this part for our families.
I think it's a very expensive, big run here.
I think all she's saying is that it's okay striking it now, but in a future meeting, possibly discussing the idea of making that 10 acres.
That might be a possibility. The other thought though is, there are obviously, maybe not a lot of land parcels here in the county, there's got to be some. So it might be a matter of, waiting for the right property in the right location that would meet their financial capabilities and their goals for a small farm.
I also know that sometimes people look at these schools and they don't realize that they can come to you and ask for a special exception and they go, oh, I can't do that. Now I can buy this property that I love and I keep the house on it. That's something.
And that you're right, that there is a, none of us know all the rules. We just don't. We're too used to that. Anyway, that's where people, we would encourage people to call, in our case, obviously, the county planning and zoning office, to find out what the rules are for what they're wanting to do. If it's an existing property, it's already in place. As long as they're proposing within the current zoning, theoretically, they wouldn't have to ask the county for anything, but it's always been a check before they put the property under contract. Obvious reasons. Peyton, do you want to speak to that?
So if a person has 40 acres and they're willing to split off 3 is the minimum to build on in A1, that would be possible. It's the 20-acre average. It's the not wanting to make the A1 district congested with so many little parcels to stay in line with the comprehensive plan for that A1 district. So if there is a parcel out there that's 40 acres and that one can be split, there are options. If there's a parcel out there that is already 3 acres in the A1 district, we can build on that. And it's possible. There are scenarios out there that make it possible.
Is that, that's your question? Thank you for asking it, and thank you again for waiting. There was any other question?
Not really a
Yeah,
question,
you-
I know, it's a never ending. I just wanted to make more of a statement as far as just killing to the board as far as keeping it 20 acres. Because once you take it down, you can't get that back. There are several instances where people are selling off 4 acres, like 10-acre lots for sale. But once you bring that down, we're not going to get it back. And for those of us that are trying to get into farming and are trying to farm, even 10 acres isn't enough. For a small hobby farm, maybe, but you're not going to get it back. And I would put that the board would stick to keeping it as it is.
So I guess the question I have is, she said if somebody's still operating, you can go on that. Is that, you can go on that without needing a special permission to build on that? It's just, you buy 3 acres on somebody to split it off. Okay, so that clarifies. Then if somebody has 10 acres that they're selling, you can build on that. Okay.
That process will look really similar to what happened this evening with the couple that came in and asked for a zoning change. The process would be very similar, if I'm not mistaken, because you would have to get, you have to hire somebody to come out and survey the property anyways to split it off. It's one extra step, but what that does is it allows citizens that own land around there to have some say. And if it's a family that says, hey, I've got 100 acres, and I want to split 20 or whatever off for family, you know, that's legal, but if they want to drop below that, they're going to get a notice saying, hey, there's a proposal, or like incorrect, because there's no.
Yeah. There wouldn't be for that. If they're wanting to do, if they're wanting to split a 20-acre parcel into 3 parcels, they would have to have it rezoned, and that would go before the board. 3-acre split off of 40 does not require a zoning change or any special use. It's just allowed. Because those 2 parcels average back out to 20 acres. That additional acreage left over cannot ever be split again. The 3-acre parcel can take on some more acreage from that 37. But it can never be split, the larger 37 can.
So you have 2 residents, in 40 acres, 1.
So there's a way for generational property to be broken up from family member once, essentially.
If there's enough acreage,
There's not acres.
we have parcels that are 60 acres, that they've done their 5-acre parcel splits along the road and can no longer split that 60. Where it appears to be that they could split it a couple more times, they can't. So that's why it would be important to contact the office, zoning office, to see if it can split before that happens. Because if it is split, that parcel becomes non-compliant and they can't build on it.
Other questions? Sorry.
I have a question on the statement of your project. My name's Anna Marker, and I was speaking in favor of accessory dwellings. I think they're important for families who live here, for the elderly, to live here. In college, I wish to do it.
Was here at the last meeting that had comments or interest specifically in those accessory dwelling. Can you speak up, please? Yes. Did you have any other questions?
Just, Jason, we really can't hear what you're saying.
Could either one of you have any additional follow-up questions regarding the accessory dwellings? I know you had a couple of questions last time. Anything additional tonight?
I don't, I haven't done my homework, so I can't.
Okay. I remember you spoke last time to that issue, and I just want to give
You're
you
gonna
a
say.
chance for a follow-up. Okay. Are there any other questions on any of?
Do we want to change verbiage?
Yes.
Temporary use or structure definition.
Must be removed from the premise act. I like that portion. Must be removed from the premise act. And replace it with words, shall not be used as a temporary construction or temporary dwelling. Shall not be used as a temporary dwelling.
important to me is the words. Not there's a line over here that looks like this. Yes, please.
I guess, Jason, my question is, what is the purpose of this paragraph? What is the purpose of section 127? What crime is being committed by not having this in our legal? What are we addressing?
It's a definition, because there is no definition, and I have been asked, well, what is a temporary structure or use? And if there isn't anything in the regulations that I can point to, if that's been a consistent question over the years, that's why we stick a definition in there. That's essentially what this is.
Could we still tell what temporary for you may be permanent for me, right?
Well, permanent for you, then we would talk about a permanent use for you.
Would it be like to, basically, isn't it to stop like in New Mexico and all, they pull a school bus up there and live in it and build a porch and you have them sitting everywhere and it's just a mess? Isn't that basically what it's doing? Sort of monitoring so it doesn't get out of control?
Sure, this is just a definition,
Okay.
just to give some clarification on what a possible temporary use or structure could be.
Okay.
Okay.
There's already regulation on temporary structures, I'm guessing on the books. I'm guessing, no, sorry.
Before we begin, could you name again?
City Hall phone, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I meant you earlier.
Sorry.
It just makes it easier for the regular meetings. Go ahead, sorry.
I guess you're saying there's already regulation on temporary use, you're just defining it.
That's defining, that's, okay, that's.
There was a question.
Never mind, I was just gonna clarify that. Steve Sheldon,
Yes.
I assume, obviously, you have pages probably of what a permanent structure is, and I mean, I've read through the regs, and it's pretty clearly defined, so you're just trying to clarify more of what a temporary structure is.
Because there was no definition.
Right, okay. Yeah, just by itself, it's confusing, but I think if we read it in the context of the 130 pages of
So-
regulation.
All of those sections that I went through that we were section 3, section 3, kept saying temporary structure, temporary use. You go to the front definition, and there's no.
That makes sense.
Cleaning stuff up.
Any other questions on the proposed chambers? Yes. Please.
City law, more of a comment, just to clarify, we can apply for, like, in the A1 zone, if the house is like behind the primary dwelling, we can apply for a waiver, correct? If it's, yeah, whatever the word is, right? So it's not, if it's not necessarily behind the primary dwelling, we can apply for that variance, yes.
Okay. Gotta go to the appeals board
Okay.
on variances.
Jeff Weston. I just had a question. Why is the 20 acres marked out? I thought the 3 acres would be marked out. Maybe I'm just curious.
This was the work session verbiage, and notice the red. That was the work session on that as well.
So it shouldn't be line green or anything? If they're going back to the 20 acres?
I just thought the 3 acres would have been marked out, and 20 acres would have been left.
What they're going to do is what they were proposing to do,
Oh,
and that red says, we don't think we're going to do that now.
okay, that's fine. I just, the line kind of threw me off, that's all.
Yes. It's confusing. Yeah, depending on what the board makes of the motion, they may decide to just pull that entire section forward there. Just pull that out. board, any additional discussion? Again, no, there's a proposed change, 8 on wording on 10. Article 5, item number 127, definition of temporary use of structure. Any other questions, discussion on the document or ask for a motion? Yes, Steve, here's what I've written now. So in case anyone wants to make this motion, or if you have a different motion. What I've written now is I'm not making this motion. I'm just stating a sample motion, just for the record. I'm not making this motion, this is just a sample motion for the board to, I'll pass this around so that everyone here can hear it. It's just one thought. Whoever makes the motion can say whatever they want. Hopefully it's clearer, clarified. Someone would move, possibly, to adopt the Article 5. Adopt the recommended amendments to the Jackson County zoning regulations except for no change to section 4. I'm sorry, Article 7, section 4. You can scroll down to that page, you're almost there, just so you know what we're talking about. Except for that, except for that section 4 that's almost all in blue, and there's the red line below it. So you can start over down over there. So if someone might possibly move to adopt the recommended amendments to the Jackson County zoning regulations except for no change to Article 7. Scroll this up just a hair. Article 7, right there. Section 4, which is straight down the road, which is the intensity of use regulations. That's what I'm going to be passing to the board to consider as a possible motion. They might have some change to that.
What's this change here?
Yeah, this.
Can we not make changes to this, just like we did with the rewording, and just say we are not touching a thing? Just on it right now, saying we're not touching a thing on intensity of use regulations. You know, because we reworded the temporary, right. We reworded this.
That's, the board could do many different things. Steve's a way to, possible way to incorporate the requested change to number 127 would be to just modify this wording to adopt the recommended amendments to the Jackson County zoning regulations, including the change in section 7, temporary use or structure. And then go on with, except for no change to Article 7, Section 4, intensity of use or order.
And on that, we'll look at definition on 27, which is section 1, definition, 27,
Right.
section 1.
Can I make a suggestion? If we adopt these one or two at a time, Mr. Clerk, it takes a lot less time than what we're trying to do now.
I think this would be quicker. I think this would be much better. Depending on the vote, on the motion, and depending on what the motion is. Does that make sense, regarding, if someone's interested, including the change in Article 5, Section 1, definition, where it needs to incorporate that change? Does that make sense? For you?
On language.
Let me rewrite the first change, then rewrite this out.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out that right now we're only changing 2 articles that are different in this paper. The other 15 can be dot after that. I think if we can vote on the 2 articles, we'll change it.
That's a second possibility.
He gets 2 or 3. He gets 2 or 3.
This is one possibility.
That's one possibility.
Again, board can, makes a motion, whatever motion you want, all of that, we're going to see. One vote now. All in motion, whatever the motion, modify this, second for 127. This should involve all the once we get that, we'll speak loud enough so everyone can hear.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I move to adopt the recommended amendments to the Jackson County zoning regulations, including the changes in Article 5, Section 1, definition 127, and temporary use or structure. Exception, no change to Article 7, Section 4, intensity use regulations.
Move and second to adopt the recommended amendments to the Jackson County zoning regulations, including the change in Article 5, Section 1, definition 127, temporary use or structure, except for no change to Article 7, Section 4, intensity use regulations. Is there any additional discussion?
East
On the motion?
on the west side.
Believe we're ready for a vote. All in favor of the motion as stated? Could you raise your hand just for clarity? Okay. That is a non-vote. Okay. I'm focused on that.
Both ways.
Okay. 5 in favor, motion carries. Next topic on the agenda is public hearing. Time is, do you have 8:36? Just for, public hearing, consider temporary amendment to Article 30 of the Jackson County zoning regulations about the 24-month moratorium on commercial wind energy applications and projects.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose, since we're talking about a moratorium, that we also include solar energy along with wind energy. Therefore, on the moratorium is titled as a resolution establishing a moratorium on commercial wind. I'd like to add and solar energy projects in Jackson County, Kansas. It's also in the first paragraph, third sentence, after commercial wind, put and solar energy electrical generation. And in bullet number 1 in the resolution, where it says in connection with wind, I'd like to add the word and solar energy, electrical generating projects. I'd like to discuss it if the board has any questions. If I have the floor,